Welcome to Real Dead.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Mike,
And this is Josh.
and we are
Real
Dead.
Dead.
That's right. So tonight we've done 1 and 2, and we're gonna do 3 for Saw, right?
Yes,
Kind of
Saw
the first
3.
original trilogy of it, the first 3 movies of it.
Saw 3, man.
And,
I was really excited about seeing this movie in the theater, Mike. 2006. Life was good. And this movie coming out in October, I was like, man, that's awesome. I couldn't wait to go see it. It is rated R. Like I said, I did go see this. I'm pretty sure I went and seen this opening weekend because I was so hyped for it. And the nice thing about Saw movies, Mike, is they came out like boom, 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 like one right after another every year. So that's what I liked about those movies.
yeah, I saw the first and second one, but I never saw 3. I hadn't seen 3 on out to what 10's out now or 10's coming out.
Yeah.
So I've got a long ways to go to catch up. So
Yep.
I do like how they go one into the other movie.
Yes.
The end of this one, we won't get to it quite yet.
No.
But
What's
you
that?
know,
What's that Rotten Tomato score on this one, Mike? If you don't mind showing.
now
if
let
you
me
got it.
let me throw this up here. This is straight from Rotten Tomatoes.
Yep.
30 from the critics, 71 from the audience.
I think I'm in the middle here for sure. I don't think it's as high as 71%, but I do remember really liking it when I saw it in the theater. I thought it was really good. But we rewatching it now after 2, because 2, I think 2 is like pinnacle of the series, but like so this kind of starts sloping down, but it's still good. It still has a good twist. It still has a good story, and some of the traps are the most vicious yet, Mike.
Yeah, this is probably of the 3 the most gruesome one. Would you say?
Yeah. Yes. No doubt.
Yeah.
So we start at how the movie starts is you start in that original room with the cop Eric Matthews from the second movie, and he's trying to get out of here, out of this place, and he's screaming still at Amanda or whatever. He ends up breaking his foot in about 100 places, didn't he, Mike?
That was disgusting.
And he does get it out of the chain though. So and then it kind of closes on that. I thought the bashing of the foot was brutal, man. I mean, that's even more brutal than cutting your foot off, I think.
Yeah, when he started doing it, I was like, he's going to try to slide it and bend it, and then he had to break it at some point to get it to slide back through the shackle. It was pretty gruesome.
Okay, let me say a couple of the people in this cast, Mike. That's in this one. You do have Eric returning, but in a small role, lesser role. And about these movies is they do go back in time. They show you things that happened previously. They also use characters from last movie and make them main characters are more important than this one. There's a lady who's a doctor, and her name is Lynn, and she's going to be a main character. You also have another guy named Jeff who's actually in the game. He's running the game. And you don't know much about Jeff. He looks like a slob. I mean, he's got like his bathrobe on and all this stuff. And then, of course, you have Jigsaw returning. You have Amanda returning. And as you learned, you learned from the second movie, she is now Jigsaw's apprentice. But she is unhinged in this movie, in my opinion. And she's really disappointing Jigsaw in this movie. So that's who I have as the main characters. But we go back to that curly-haired detective, which you were kind of confused on a little bit, right, Mike? You were like, "Well, who's this lady?" Like,
yeah, I remember, but then when they had her in a, not long into the movie, she's in the game herself. And I was like, is that really her? Is that not her? And I thought it was her, but I wasn't 100% sure.
So she had a small part in the first movie. She had a bigger part in the last movie. She was actually the woman that had an affair with Eric Matthews. And so in this movie, she has another small part. But the first trap is a guy like hooked up to all these chains. And it reminded me of something off of Hellraiser, Mike.
Yep.
Didn't it remind you of that?
Yep.
Yeah. And he had to like rip all these chains out before the time expired, before this bomb went off. but it was almost like an unwinnable trap because the cops came in later and saw that the door was locked from the outside, and he couldn't have got out of that room if he would have ripped all the chains off. So that's the cops are like, this wasn't Jigsaw because like this is not Jigsaw's work because it's a copycat. Because there was no way out of this. He couldn't have survived regardless. So that's when they got thinking about it. And this other lady, which I can't remember her name right now, but she gets captured by a Jigsaw. You think it's Jigsaw. And she gets put in a trap where she's literally, this trap is hooked to each one of her rib cages, Mike. And it is a gruesome trap and death, in my opinion. Yep. She has a key where she has to reach her hand in and grab it, but it's like acid, and she's only given 60 seconds, and the key will actually dissolve in the acid, so she's got to hurry up. So she's burning the crap out of her hand. She unlocks the thing, and she should be able to get out. There's no way out of this trap either. It's a death sentence, Mike.
Yep.
And how did you feel? What did you think of this trap, Mike, when it went off?
Well, I thought it ripped her whole body in half. I mean, I thought it kind of ripped her in half, but I mean, I think the way it was hooked up, it was like claws going into each one of her rib cages, so it just ripped her open.
So when it ripped all six. It like ripped her 6 ribs out, or whatever, how many ribs it was, and it was brutal. And she was just hanging there. She had no way out. So you're like, wait, why is Jigsaw making these? Usually, yes, he does make these traps, but people have lived from his traps. So you're like thinking like, what's going on here, you know? And you already know that Jigsaw is beat up. He's really beat up from the last movie where Eric Matthews, and he's almost on his deathbed at this point with his cancer and getting beat up. He's weak. So you're like, wait, what's going on here? That cop's name was Carrie, Mike, the detective.
Okay.
So she's dead. And so they're trying to figure out, like, this trap you weren't able to get out of this trap either. So they're trying to figure it out. And that kind of is like all part of the story too, Mike, where you're trying to figure out who was, like, why are these traps being like this? So, so they get to the part where the doctor, there's a big story with the doctor. Mike, explain some of that.
Yeah, they show this lady. You're trying to wonder who it is, and she's in like in a apartment or a hotel room. I don't know, with some other guy. And, and then like they're not getting along very well. She's got to go to work, and the guy's wanting to talk to her, and it's kind of like a bad relationship. You can tell something's going bad. And then next thing you know, he's like, well, go ahead and take a shower. She's like, no, I'll just take one at the hospital. So you figure, she works at the hospital. Next thing you know, she's at the hospital, and then there's some things going on there.
He says, I want a divorce.
Huh?
He says, I want a divorce. And so you think, oh crap, like this marriage is falling apart. Right.
So, and then later on, you'll hear more about that. But so then she goes to the hospital, and she starts to, she starts to work, and she's kind of like a zombie. But then you kind of find out she's a doctor.
Yeah.
And she makes some, she saves a small child's life. And then the other nurses or the other doctors there kind of give her a hard time. To listen, you got to get your stuff together. The doctor I knew beforehand would have been in there like that and saved that kid a lot quicker than she did. And
well, she's on pills.
She's just having a rough time. But she's also, before she went out, and then later on, she's on prescription drugs.
Yeah.
So, she's got some kind of drug problem, prescription drug problem going on.
Yes, definitely. So they kidnap her. Amanda kidnaps her to help Jigsaw because Jigsaw needs brain surgery, which I don't like this whole story about where he needs brain surgery, and if he dies, she has this cool trap around her neck that's like a collar with all these shotgun shells, and if his heartbeat goes 0 or flat, those shotgun shells goes off and blast this doctor in the head. She's dead. So she's got to do everything she can to get Jigsaw up and going again, and Amanda's a mess. She's like cutting herself a bunch and stuff, and Jigsaw don't like that shit. And then you see a bunch of backstory about how she actually was recruited as a person, which I really like that, Mike. I like them showing that. How Jigsaw recruited her to be his apprentice.
Yep.
I really like that. And then that Jeff guy wakes up, and he's in a crate, and he has the game. And then you have Amanda telling Jigsaw, like, oh, this is, the game has started. And she keeps giving him updates. But I'm going to tell you a couple of traps that I thought was really gross in this Jeff thing when he's trying to make it through this maze. The one where they had Jeff's son was killed by a drunk driver. So Jigsaw basically is like, are you going to forgive these people or take vengeance on them and let them die in these traps? So that's his whole thing. And Jeff is a miserable person and a very vengeful person.
Yep.
And so that's the whole part of the game, is to see if he can forgive or take his vengeance out on him, let him die in these traps. So like, it's like one's like a witness that didn't say anything, and one was a guy that was like the lawyer or something. And then the one guy's the judge. And this is a sick trap, Mike. Tell him about this trap.
Yeah, in this sick trap, the guy is chained down to this pit, the bottom of a pit, and it goes around his neck. So he can't lift his head up very much. But then they have this other device that brings in these like rotten pigs, carcasses, and it's going through like a meat grinder, throwing it down. So this guy slowly, this juices and nastiness starts filling up. And eventually, if he's not saved, he's going to drown with that stuff in his. I mean, it's just going to drown him. He can't move.
Yeah, he's going to drown in the slop and the bile. And
yeah, so then the other guy, the main guy that's supposed to forgive everybody, the thing is Jigsaw says that that everything that he loves or had memories of his son are in this like incinerator, and he can either push the button to make it all disintegrate, and then there will be a key there for him to help save the guy, or he can just let the guy drown. And right. the guy is the judge who only gave the person that killed his son 6 months in jail.
Right. He gave him a light sentence. So, yeah, I understand that. I mean, I think happens a lot with the parents that lose a child. They hang on to their personal, possessions. And like Jigsaw said, you need to let go of these because this isn't helping you at all. This isn't helping you move past this. It's just keeping you in it. So he did decide to burn the stuff, and he was mad about it. But he did help this judge out, which I was like, wait, a guy survived the trap? But like I was shocked by that. But there's this next trap that was the worst trap that's been in this movie series, in my opinion, Mike. And this trap was the killer of their son. He didn't do it on purpose. Originally, they said the guy was a drunk driver. I didn't think he acted drunk or anything. I don't know. But because they showed back the scene.
He was he was a 27-year-old medical student to be a doctor.
Right. And while this is all going on in the game, you still have Lynn working on Jigsaw. She's like cutting his head open, trying to relieve the pressure of the tumor. Amanda's going nuts, like threatening.
She hates him. She doesn't like the Jigsaw and the doctor's kind of getting close, or he's like showing her favoritism.
Right, but Jigsaw's doing that on purpose.
Yeah,
we'll learn that later. But so this machine is a guy like this, his head in like a vice thing. All these gears and their hands out, legs out. And what it is it twists you with these gears. It's like a slow twist. So like it will just twist, and your head twist, your legs. And he tries to save this guy, and the judge tries to help. And the only way you can get the key is if you actually take a shot from a gun, because it's rigged to it and you would get shot. So he said, will you take a bullet to save this guy's life? And Jeff didn't want it. Jeff basically wants this guy dead. But the judge tries to help him and stuff. He ends up getting shot and killed, the judge that he rescued in the last one. But this guy that was in this trap, it was brutal, Mike. You heard all the bones crack, twist. You see the bones protruding from the skin, and it's brutal, Mike, isn't it?
Yeah, and then finally it gets to the point where it goes all the way around. It twists his head completely around like The Exorcist or something. I mean, it's facing the opposite way, and it's by far the most brutal, in my opinion, trap out there, because it's a slow death. You're going to have your arms twisted off first, then your legs twisted off, and then your head's getting ready to get twisted off.
Yep. So you're suffering from your arms and your legs, and then you'll be dead with your neck being twisted, but you're still suffering before that.
Yep.
which is crazy. So, but yeah, so the fast forward to the end, you learn that Jeff, well, Amanda's jealous, like you said, and so she ends up having a gun, and Jeff comes through, and he's like finished his stuff, but he's not done yet. And you learn, so all the story is you learn that Jeff is Lynn's husband.
Yeah.
And the guy that Lynn was with in that room was actually a guy she was having an affair with that told her, I want a divorce, meaning like, I want you and your husband to get a divorce, and he wants to be with her. And also you learn, of course, and you also learn once Amanda ends up shooting Lynn, and Jeff shoots frickin' Jigsaw, or gets Jigsaw with a saw blade and cuts his throat. And Jigsaw said after Jeff shot Amanda in the neck, and Amanda's dying. And as Amanda's dying, Jigsaw says, "This was all a test for you, Amanda. This whole thing was a test for you. It wasn't really a test for them. It was actually a test for you if I could trust you." So it was actually all about Amanda. And Amanda's like thinking about things that happened, how she rigged those traps. Jigsaw knew that. Jigsaw knew that she rigged the traps for them not to be escapable. Jigsaw knew that she screwed up Eric Matthews when he should have been able to escape that. He shouldn't have died. He got out of his trap, but she still did something with him. We don't really know what she did, but he's gone. And so Jigsaw knew that, and this was her final test, and she didn't pass it. So she just died, bled out on the ground. Amanda, his apprentice, is dead.
Oh.
And as you're there, he's like, "Jeff, your last thing is if you can forgive me." And he's like, "No." And he like cuts Jigsaw's throat with a freaking saw.
Yep.
And as Jigsaw's dying, Lynn can't talk because she got shot. And all of a sudden, her husband's there with her, and those things go off and just pulverizes her head, Mike.
Yeah, they cut away and come back, and all you see is her torso, really, and just a fragment of her neck or head there.
Yeah, that was brutal too.
Yeah.
And so Jeff, because he couldn't overcome his vengeance or need for revenge, he lost it all, Mike.
And the very last thing was Jigsaw's dying. He says, "You killed me, and now you've lost your daughter too," because he's the one that knew where her daughter was at. He lost a son, but he still had a daughter,
right?
And so then he was like, "No!" Like,
yeah.
And you just do it. Here it is again, going into the game, going to the next one.
Yep. Yeah. I thought it was good. I liked that. I thought the twist is good. I didn't like the whole stuff of Jigsaw's brain and stuff. Not that it grossed me out. I just thought it was boring. So, but I did like the movie, Mike. What did you give it a rating, Mike?
Now, what's average, Josh?
3.
3 is average. Okay, so you said that, not me. I gave it a 3.25, a tad above average, but 3.25. 3.5 would be right where the average audience said. If they would have to me, they could have shaved 20, 30 minutes off of this.
Sure.
It was an hour and 46 minutes to 2 hours. I think they could have shaved at least 15 to 20, 25, 30 minutes off of it. It just got a little bit slow in the middle of it. I like the gruesomeness of it. So if you like gruesome type stuff, like it's not Terrifier level, but it's still gorier than average.
Yeah.
You'll
the goriest one.
Movie.
The goriest one to date.
Between 1, 2, and 3 by far.
Yep.
What do you think, Josh?
I'm gonna give it a 3.1, Mike.
Okay.
I'm a little lower than you, but I still think it's definitely above average. It's not boring. It's not Friday the 13th Part 3. It's not that. So
or Child's Play 3.
Or Child's Play 3. Mike, I can't wait till we get more deeper into the Halloween franchise, because you're gonna be like, what did they do to Michael Myers?
Yeah, I mean, at least he didn't go to Manhattan, or space or anything, but
he did join a cult though, Mike.
He did join a cult. He did. So we got our ratings, favorite kills. What was your favorite kill?
Favorite kill would have to be the guy in the torture the thing that turned around and,
Yep,
and
that was
crushed his
mine too.
bones. That's got to be it, Mike. I mean,
Yep.
I like the one that was cool. We didn't talk about it, but the girl that kept getting frozen over and over and it just killed her, made her like an ice cube. That was a cool effect, but I mean, the kill wasn't that great. But you could tell that, like, it would just seem like so much. That would be so painful to freeze to death, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd definitely say the thing that turns your head and arms around. So, Mike.
All right. So if you're watching this or you've seen it before, tell us what you think about it. What do you rate it? 1 to 5. Have you ever seen it before?
Right.
If you're into gruesome, gory stuff, I think it's worth a watch.
Definitely.
I don't know if I'd buy it, but it's definitely worth a watch. I did rent it. But hey, check us out on Facebook, Real Dead Horror Community.
Yes.
Also, if you're watching this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing.
No, it doesn't.
And it'll help us out so we can continue to have fun.
Yeah.
And know that you guys are enjoying what we're putting out here. So,
yeah,
Josh, you have a good one, man.
You too, Mike. See you, buddy.
All right. Bye.
Bye.